Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the December meeting of the Hawaii Board of Nursing. We're going to begin with an informational video about participating in virtual board meetings.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras. Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting. At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Good morning, everybody. It is December the 4th. It is our last board meeting of the year. Welcome. Before we get started, some additional information about participating in virtual board meetings. As a reminder, if you wish to provide written testimony on any agenda item, please submit your testimony to nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to the address listed at the top of the agenda. We do request that you submit testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting to ensure that the board members can receive the distribution. If you're attending by internet, to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any email any entry in a standard email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chair asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about an agenda item. The chair will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone and before speaking, and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you are attending with audio-only access by telephone, when the chair asks for public testimony, you can indicate that you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your telephone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chair, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you're unmuted. Once you finish speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to remute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If the connection to the virtual meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time to be posted at the board's website. And you can always find instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings online. All right. We're going to begin then with agenda item number 1, which is roll call. So as a reminder, board members who are attending virtually, please indicate if you are in a non-public location. I'm Carrie Oliveira, I'm the chair, I am present. Vice Chair Jill Riggs is excused today. Bradley Kuo.
Present.
Sherry Shields Hansen.
Present and alone.
Terrence Aratani.
Present and alone.
Rebecca Moore.
Present and alone.
And Darren Dunbar does not appear to be here today. But we do have a quorum, so the meeting is called to order officially. Here we go. Go team. Agenda, announcements. There is an education committee meeting to follow this one today, because I always forget to say it at the end, so I'll say it at the beginning. It will follow immediately-ish after the end of this meeting, so stick around for that if you are interested. All right, agenda item number 3 is the approval of the open and executive session minutes of the November 6, 2025 meeting. I do have some non-substantive edits for the EO, just clarifying things, but not changing the substantive nature of the minutes. So outside of that, is there any discussion? If we have to discuss the content of the executive session minutes, we can go into executive session. Anybody have any other changes or revisions?
No.
All right, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the non-substantive revisions provided by the chair. Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Thank you very much. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. I should have asked if there was any public testimony on the matter of the minutes. Is there any public testimony on the matter of the minutes? Great, seeing none, we'll carry on. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which pertains to the nurse licensure compact. I'm gonna hand that over to the EO.
Yes, before I start, just want to let you know that Darren is supposed to be here
Darren is supposed to be here?
in
He's
person.
on his way.
Does he need a parking pass?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Julie and I both forgot. So apologize to him later. All right, so continuing this conversation about Operation Nightingale, I have been reaching out to other state boards, those being a number of them that were recommended to me by NCSBN. So it was Missouri.
What? Sorry, no.
Oh, sorry, am I missing something?
Four,
Something
LLC?
in. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I went right to the EO's report. Yes, I was a little too excited about Operation Nightingale, because that's what I spend most of my time on.
Yes. Imagine that.
Yeah, I was on mine till 8, anyway, doing stuff related to it.
Stuff.
So, to prepare for the upcoming legislative session, I want to hold some space and time for the board to discuss and also receive public testimony on House Bill 897, which was introduced during the 2025 legislative session. And HB 897 proposes that Hawaii join the NLC, the Nurse Licensure Compact. As of November 2025, the bill is still pending in the Hawaii House Health Committee. Currently, there is no public information available on a future hearing or vote date for this bill, but we can expect that it will definitely be on the schedule in 2026.
Do we know if this is going to be included in the governor's package as it has in the past?
I haven't heard anything.
I think so.
Okay. And do we know why?
It's his priority.
Okay. Interesting.
Not surprising.
It was in his package the first time. It wasn't in the package the second time.
Correct.
So that's why I'm
That's
asking.
why maybe maybe a different avenue is being attempted.
Sure. Okay.
I'm speculating, it's all
course.
speculation, yeah.
Of course.
But it's coming.
Have we heard any dissatisfaction with regards to the temporary license bill that did pass? That was essentially a solution since the NLC did not move forward during that session?
I don't know, EO, have we had any complaints from employers or licensees related to the temporary permitting process?
Nope.
Okay, no complaints that we're aware of.
So that, can certainly be included in your testimony or response. It's just, there's a number of compacts being introduced. Nurse license is not alone.
Right.
But it's high on the list, given, it was, I think, one of the first to be attempted years back.
Probably.
Yeah.
So we do have a raised hand.
How many are in now?
How many states? Oh, all but
Right
9.
now, yeah, I think there's something like 30.
39.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So there's us, DC.
Us,
Alaska.
Alaska, Nevada, California.
It's all written right.
It's exactly, so.
Oh, do I have notes on this?
Yes, you
You
do.
Yeah, you're really thorough in your report to the board about
Yeah.
which states we're not in. So this is how much you're thinking about it.
This is how I'm still recovering from being sick for a few days.
Yeah. So these states have in common that there's relatively very strong union representation in these states in terms of their workforce. And if you
That's
listen, if
correct.
you attend the Nurse License Compact meeting at last year's annual meeting, this was mentioned specifically in the policy update by NCSBN at the NLC meeting, which was that union opposition was strong to the compact. In fact, the auto workers union in Michigan testified in opposition to the nurse licensure compact. So that's in one thing that these states have in common. So there's that. I'd like to hear testimony from Dr. Creekmore.
Not for sure if you guys are able to hear me. For some reason, I can't turn my video on, so I apologize. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the ability to provide some testimony on this topic, of which happened in the last legislative session, was very actively in opposition to this. First off, I would like to start by saying at my best count, there were 317 RNs on the ratification list today, 2 of those temporary. I've seen similar numbers over the years on the ratification list, if not more. There actually was 885 new RNs on the February this year ratification list. And to me, this would certainly not denote a nursing shortage in the state. Perhaps, in my opinion, it may be more of a hiring issue. It's kind of like walking into Costco and saying there's nothing to eat. Happen and other organizations also believe that the compact bill is a union busting bill. In my opinion, this was incredibly evident during the recent strike at Kapiolani. It was also evident in the potential strike that was going to happen at Queens when they brought hundreds of nurses here to cover. In my opinion, it would probably be a better direction of the ledge to target their efforts more on recruitment, whether that be a hospital or other facilities as far as nurses. I've been sitting in on the board meetings for several years, and I really appreciate the ability to do that, all of you. And, you know, there's been mention of concerns with the multi-state license back in February, specifically concerns about the ability to police safety violations. You know, I have a concern myself that should a violation happen in a home state and that not be transferred over to the compact license and our ability to deal with that. Again, the legislature, as Dr. Kuo had mentioned, did attempt to address that with the temporary license for those that are fully completed on application status with no encumbrances. But again, this would not technically allow, in my opinion, the Board of Nursing to appropriately address any safety issues. And I could be wrong, but you know, that's my understanding. Also, in the previous bills, they wouldn't even have to be reported in the state for 30 days. So, you know, that's an issue for me to have a nurse come in. Let's take the strike, for instance. The nurse comes in, they practice, they violate something, they head back to their home state, and you guys don't even know they exist for a month after they've already practiced and left. And to me, that's a really, really, really big issue. The other thing is financial. It was revealed during some testimonies in conference in the legislature on the last session that the adventure of this bill would be, the financial costs would be passed on to the local nurses. You know, according to the DCCA, it would create nearly a $1 million deficit, which was intended to be passed on via raising our license fees. So essentially, we would be paying for people to come in and take our jobs, which I don't think is okay either. And we cannot count the fact that, you know, even at RN or APRN, either one, we're not talking about APRN compact, but there's telehealth things that are being done. And this doesn't necessarily mean that if a nurse is using their compact for the state of Hawaii, that they're going to be located here. And that also takes away from local jobs and local economy and local entrepreneurial growth, in my opinion. who wouldn't want a paid vacation in Hawaii anyway, right? And that's essentially what I see as that. I'll finish by saying this. Number one, thank you for allowing me to provide the testimony. Number two, for future reference, should an APRN compact bill come across, we would also be fully opposed to that due to the restriction in practice that is necessary for those compact bills. It would fully restrict a new APRN's ability to practice to the fullest extent of their scope. But thank you guys again. Have a wonderful rest of the week and happy holidays to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Creekmore. We appreciate your testimony. Would anybody else like to provide testimony on this particular agenda item? Director Reichart.
Hi, good morning. Laura Reichart, Hawaii State Center for Nursing. A lot of what Jeremy said, I echo. I think he summarized it very well. Particularly in the focus of recruitment and retention, which the Center for Nursing has state mandates to address through strategies. Looking at the Nurse License Compact, if we have challenges with recruitment, it does not appear that licensing is the barrier. And certainly for the same points that Jeremy mentioned, there is a large amount of licensure happening in our state for nursing. There's a high volume, and particularly for out-of-state nurses, when we look at that distribution between in-state and out-of-state nursing. Therefore, other factors and solutions should be considered when addressing workforce needs, because it does not seem that licensure in particular is the barrier. And the Nurse License Compact is a licensure strategy for making nurses successful.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate your testimony. Any other member of the public would like to provide testimony on this agenda item? Is the EO looking for a position from the board on the compact at this time?
Not at this moment, but keep in mind that we can still receive written testimony in between board meetings. So since we're not meeting in January, any written testimony will be shared in February.
Great, that would be delightful. Does any board member want to comment on the compact? Or the DHE? Or the EO? I will say, the one thing I will say is, as it relates to Operation Nightingale, which you're going to get to here in a second, not Nightingale specifically, but this board, to my recollection, at least twice in the last couple of years, has denied licensure to an individual applying for Hawaii state license because of an encumbrance in another jurisdiction and who had an active, valid multi-state license. And we would never have seen that had it not been for the fact that they had to apply for single state licensure in Hawaii. They would otherwise have been able to come into the state, practice under their multi-state privilege, despite the fact that they do not meet the requirements for licensure under Hawaii's Nurse Practice Act. And that workforce concerns being what they are, and that the Hawaii State Center for Nursing's job is to consider workforce. There are professional organizations who are concerned about such things. This board's sole purpose is to provide public protection by way of the regulation of nursing practice and the licensure of nurses. And if we are entertaining the possibility of incorporating a licensing process that is less safe than the one we're currently using, it is a very difficult case for me to make that the compact is as good as our current single state licensure system is the only other thing I will say about that. That's my humble opinion. Go team.
I'm going to say something.
Okay, you're a board
Mrs.
member,
Bradley.
you should.
The last time that we needed to address this, I felt like the board had to be very political, of course, with our statement and our wording. And we were not allowed to be, I'm not going to say allowed. I didn't feel like we were able to be as decisive as we could have been the last time that this was brought to the
Well, the last
legislature.
time we talked about this, it
Yeah.
was in February. And we
Correct.
did unanimously vote in
Correct.
opposition, so it was
That's
the time
correct.
before
It was
that.
the time before
Yeah.
that, yes. So I want to make sure that that we're able to have a clear statement if we need to make a statement during this next session. And because we're still in the middle of the biennium, our position from last year probably would be the same this year and should stand, no matter if it's part of the governor's package or not.
Thank you, Bradley, for that comment.
So I think an argument they can come up with is that it will take 2 years for a compact to be fully implemented, because we would have to update legislation, plus rules, plus our system, which right now is not equipped to handle a compact of this scope and size. So just keep in mind that they might come back and argue, well, you have 2 years to, so it won't be in the middle of this biennium.
Question, has the DCCA been able, or licensing division been able to estimate on a yearly basis how many multi-state licenses they would process on average?
I don't know how they would be able to estimate that.
We have to go through, because right now in our system, there isn't even a field that captures that.
Okay.
As whether someone has a multi-state license or not.
Right.
So we would literally have to do a manual audit.
Well, but your question was how many, is there a way to estimate how many multi-state licenses PVL would issue?
Correct,
Is that your
because
question?
I'm concerned about an already stretched PVL workforce shortage, really, of being able to process some of the applications. Obviously, you're doing a very good job with temporary licenses. And as far as I'm aware, you're meeting your legislative requirement by getting them done within 10 business days. But with a multi-state license also as an additional factor, how much is that going to stretch PVL?
That's,
Well, can I chime in?
Yes,
That
please.
Yeah.
The medical licensure compact passed 2 years ago, and it's having its speed bumps and challenges
Yes.
with the IT, and we don't even know
Of course.
the issues that multi-state brings into the whole scheme of things here.
right.
Many people may think, oh, this is the silver bullet, but there's 9,000 other issues that administrators and IT people and other states who issued the original multi-state license bring into Hawaii.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm very glad that you bring that up, because from previously reviewing the physician compact, if I remember correctly, there is still some level of state oversight, of the licensing division oversight with some of those multi-state physician licenses. Whereas with the multi-state license here for nurses, there really isn't much oversight for our board.
So with the medical compact, you will get licensed in every state you want to practice. So they
Right.
do not use a multi-state license
Right.
model. So you get licensed in every
Exactly.
jurisdiction, which is not the case for nursing.
That's
Yes.
not the case for nursing.
Which only has,
Yes.
Say that one more time.
it doesn't have a license in each party state or remote state.
Right.
It issues a privilege.
Got it. For physicians.
For
For
nursing.
nurses. For nurses.
Like a
Okay,
driver's
okay.
license.
Got it.
So the trackability, the reporting, even the survey at the application, because they don't have to fill out an application.
Correct.
So for that reason, that's probably why the medical license compact went first.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was, in the whole scheme of things, probably the better constructed compact.
Yes.
I mean, you're gonna see 9 different compacts coming through, and they span the range of structure, commissions, bylaws, rules, policies, reporting. So notice to the party, yeah, it's a whole range.
Right.
Good to know. Sherry Shields Hansen, I see your hand up.
Yes, Chair. I Thank you for all these awesome reasons why we should really look at this closely. And I just want to emphasize the taking jobs away from locals, because I travel all over the country doing review classes for graduate nurses. And we are seeing a deficit in jobs available to new grads. I think we've seen it in Kauai, we've seen it in the state a little bit. And so that really hits me at home if we're taking away jobs from other local nurses. And I think we need to look at that very carefully, those numbers, before agreeing to license people in all 39 if we become the 40th state or whatever that might be. So I just want to emphasize that.
Thank you, Sherry. Other comments from the board?
I have a question. Have we been able to identify where the issue lies?
What issue?
Yep. So there's been a significant emphasis on our academic institutions to graduate nurses. We're working to increase our number of faculty.
Yep.
Working to maintain our clinical sites, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Do studies show that academia is doing their part in producing and graduating nurses?
The state of Hawaii, across all of its pre-licensure baccalaureate or pre-licensed RN programs, produce about 400 new nurses a year.
Okay.
Whether or not that meets employment demand is sort of dependent upon whether or not employers are looking for new grads versus nurses with specialties or nurses with more experience than that. The production of new graduates in the state is enough to sustain the workforce, with the caveat that sometimes they're not the right fit for the jobs that employers are trying to hire for.
So then
But there's not an argument to be made at this time. So the Hawaii State Center for Nursing put out some nursing workforce projections earlier this year, which indicated that if there's no immediate need to expand capacity in pre-licensed nursing education programs, because there's no imminent need for an increased number of new grads.
Okay, that's fair. Then my follow-up question is, do we have data that demonstrates that our employers are doing their part in doing postgraduate education for specialty advancement, all that kind of stuff?
I'm gonna defer that question to the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. Dr. Kuo was asking about whether or not our employers are supporting the development of specialty RNs.
They absolutely are, yes. So starting in 2022, we had a call from our employers that raised the concern that there was an inadequate supply of specialty nurses and a difficulty recruiting nurses from outside of Hawaii in order to fill those gaps. And so they requested a training model. In 2023, we developed a pilot strategy that would use an online curriculum that embedded nationally accredited specialty content directed to the nurse. In 2024, we piloted it through the Good Jobs program. We had over 900 trainings. Those are not individuals. Some facilities cross-trained, particularly in the rural areas. They cross-trained their nurses in multiple specialty areas. And as a result of that, we were able to reduce our vacancy rates by several percentage points at that point in time, which, if you recall, was woefully undersupplied. That was kind of like our low point in terms of nursing supply. And we're now tracking, with HAH, they track the vacancy rates in the specialty area, so they're updating that research, and that's where we've identifying their findings. Importantly, in 2024, we had 900 trainings. In 2025, we had about 400 trainings, which seems correct to me. You would not expect that. Like, when you're woefully undersupplied, you go full bore, and then you level out to go into maintenance mode.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing. And then we continue to look at the particular implementation strategies, because it's pretty finicky to pull off. Each hospital has different volumes and rates and timings and budget schedules and everything. So partnering at a statewide level is difficult. So all of that is happening for incumbent nurses who are already employed in institutions. Going back further, in 2020, we worked with a curriculum provider to optimize our nurse residency program, which used to be for med-surg only, and now brand new nurses are having the residency program embedded into their specialty area. So they're not they're not quitting the nurse residency program to go into a specialty area, but rather they're getting their residency in that specialty unit. So they're getting the specialty training and that residency training in one fell swoop. So you have to address like experienced nurses and novice nurses. You need to push them both in those areas, and we are working with our partners to do that. We still have deficits in long-term care.
Okay.
We still have deficits in home health. We still have deficits in public health nursing. So this primarily is an acute care model. But it's more than we had in 2019. It is scaled to rural communities where we have our most significant deficits in any kind of nurse. It's the hardest to get nurses into our rural, neighbor island communities, and particularly when we have funding, we've been able to push the volume of these specialty trainings in our neighbor island communities, and so we are working to kind of offset the challenges of neighbor island specialty development and nurse recruitment.
Laura, that's very helpful. I appreciate that. And so I'm just going to say one more thing and we can move on.
That's important discussion.
It's what is clear to me is that academia is doing their part, that employers, to a degree, are doing their part, that the state is making an effort through the Hawaii State Center for Nursing to assist in coordinating that. And so why do we need the nurse
What is the
license
problem the
compact?
compact is trying to solve?
Exactly.
I think that's the question I also have. The DAG made a passing mention when you were talking earlier. The compact is thought to be a silver bullet. I don't know to cure what, though. I
Correct.
don't know. I agree with that assessment, and also I'm not sure what the problem is that the compact is designed to solve, because as Director Reichart pointed out earlier, licensing does not appear to be a barrier to recruitment, at least not at the moment. During the pandemic, it absolutely was, and I want to acknowledge that reality, right?
Sure.
It was taking 45, 60 days for a person to get a license because PVL was like not functioning as it was supposed to because the entire state was shut down.
Right.
That has since been remediated. They brought on temporary staff. We're now issuing 400 licenses a month.
Yep.
We also have the, sorry,
Please carry on.
yeah, so we also have the governor's proclamations that have been kind of a bridge from COVID to where we are now. I also want to add anecdotally that we do get questions about when Hawaii will join NLC in our general nursing inbox periodically, and I can tell you that none of them are from nurses or nursing students who are local to Hawaii. They're all outside the state.
Okay.
So, segueing off of that, I think there is interest in ending the emergency proclamations for temporary nurses. Not that I understood from Alex before that that was greatly used avenue to get nurses, but it's a perception problem, and not as you folks embedded in the nuts and bolts of academia churning out 400 and the perception is the employers don't want new graduates. We need experienced nurses that don't exist, so therefore we're increasing access for Hawaii residents by allowing multi-state nurses to come in. For the employers who want the experienced nurse.
We're going to hear from Darren and then Elizabeth. Go ahead, Darren.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I was late. So, not sure what the context was at the beginning, but a lot of things that have come up I'd like to address. Most recent, the point you just made about employers not wanting new grads, I'd like to clarify that. I don't know what this entity how we could impact this, but it's organized labor that is controlling where we bring new grads in. They're controlling what positions we can bring them into, and they're limiting us from putting them into specialty positions. HPH has created a pretty innovative program to put these new grads into academies for their specialty areas. I mean, that whole hospital is a specialty hospital, right? We've not been successful at that in any of the Queens entities. So that's one thing. It's not the employer. We're prevented by our contractual obligations to the union, and they're not letting us open these positions. Similarly, or related to that, we'll offer new grads medical, surgical, telemetry type jobs to get in the door, to get started. After you're there 1 year, you can transfer to another area, do new to specialty. We've had multiple new grads turn that down. They're waiting either for another hospital on island to get specialty, or they'll move to the mainland. Is that ideal? Absolutely not. So I just want to clarify, it's not that employers don't want them. We're welcoming them with open arms when we can get them, but we have limitations on who we can bring into specialty areas. The unions want their members to have access to new to specialty positions, and if there's a vacancy that you're going to make for a new grad, why can't someone more senior to that new grad come in and do that? And then what happens, we call it moving furniture. We have 5 cohorts a year, and 5 times a year we have this shift of med-surg tele people go over to the specialty units, and then we have to get people in for med-surg tele. So that's number one. Number two, I was going to ask the question, how does it differ if we were part of the nurse licensure compact, if that ever comes to be? I'm wondering how that would be different with all the proclamations we've had where we basically have said, you're a nurse with a pulse and a license in another state that's not ever been challenged. You can work here until we find out otherwise. How would having the licensure compact differ? I would pose that question. I previously, when I worked in the DC area, I was a resident in Virginia. When I submitted my change of address to Maryland, I had a compact which allowed me to work in Maryland, and DC wasn't a part of it. They're still not a part of it. But I got a letter from the Maryland Board of Nursing that said I had 6 months to apply for a Maryland license, despite the fact that I had a multi-state license. My question then is, do we have the ability, if we were to join the compact, as our own entity to say, yes, we'll welcome people in the compact, but if they come to Hawaii, then we then set a time frame by which they have to apply for a Hawaii state license.
That's actually a rule in the compact itself. So there's a time limit, 60 days, I want to say. 60 days. You are required per the compact language when you relocate into a new state, whatever it happens to be, you have 60 days to update your primary residential state of residence. Because you're not eligible to hold a multi-state license in a state that's not in the compact. But also they want to make sure that your license is issued by the jurisdiction that you actually live in. Yeah. So that's part of the compact already.
And then the other piece I'll just say is about the specialty folks. Hawaii's got a different turnover rate than I've seen other places by our geography, by our connection to the military, by people come here thinking they want to live here the rest of their life, and 2 years later they decide it's too expensive or whatever, or they have kids and they want to go back be by family. So to get specialty people in to care for those patients that are still in the beds, our new to specialty programs for the ICUs take a minimum of 16 weeks. Our OR takes 6 months. Psychiatry, 12 weeks. OB, 16 weeks. So even if positions are created and the union doesn't get in the way of saying, okay, we don't have a new to specialty candidate, you can hire a new grad, we're 3, 4 to 6 months out from getting that new grad trained. So that then poses this, we have a need for an experienced trained nurse to come in, or we close beds, right? So that's why the dependence on travel nurses, which is much less than it was during COVID. Queens as a system had 400 plus, 437 to be exact, at the peak of COVID. Right now, for nurses, we have about 130 travelers in all 6 entities, of which 60 are nurses. The other are ancillary. So that's the other piece is, and thankfully, whether it applied to Oahu or not, the proclamations have allowed our travel nurses to get in here really quickly. Even if we have an experienced nurse from the mainland wanting to relocate here, they do have a 3 to 5 week window before they get that license. We can't let them start at Queens, license pending. They have to have license in hand. So there are some barriers with us not participating in that as well. I understand the concerns about participating. I would also contend that there's been no state who's joined and pulled out because they experienced negative impacts or bad outcomes. And so I would say, if we look at high reliability organizations, one of the things is deferring to expertise. If it's working in 40 other states, why? I would need to be convinced at a much deeper level that it would not work in Hawaii, and particularly on the operations side where workforce management's a big part of what I do, and getting people here in a timely way to be able to continue to care for the people of Hawaii is a challenge at times. So it's multifactorial.
Thanks, Darren. Elizabeth, let's hear from you. Courtney, you're right there.
Okay, sorry, I was unable to unmute because of, I see that Tony was trying to help me get there. I just wanted to say real quick, because I know we've been on this topic a while, just that Hawaii ANA has been not really supportive of the compact just because of the loss of revenue for Hawaii, and that we're going to have to investigate. And what you guys did, the nurses that were coming in, and you found that they had some items on their license and things like that to find. But we are in support of some emergency exceptions, because like for our president is working with the Red Cross, and with the Lahaina fires, it was hard to get support here to help the people of Maui at that time. So she's currently helping with the Hilo fires and everything, but just with some emergent ones, you know, we look at that type of things. But as far as the others, everything that you guys have mentioned, we agree with and support. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So I'd like to wrap up this conversation, so unless there's any like final parting thoughts. So we're gonna wait to sort of just track to see where the bill is going, at which point then you will ask us to render an actual opinion on the testament on the bill?
Correct.
And it's whatever draft that is up for hearing at that time?
Yes.
Great. All right, thank you so much for the conversation, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next agenda item is number 5, Executive Officer's Report. Now you can talk about Operation Nightingale, EO.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So for this agenda item, this is to continue the conversation from the previous meeting about where we are with Nightingale and some of these safeguards that PVL and the board would like to put up to prevent Nightingale transcripts, fraudulent transcripts from even getting through our licensure process. So I was referred to a number of states who have gone through the same challenges that we have, but have put in place some very good measures to deter these types of applications. And these states were Maryland, New York, Delaware, Washington, Texas, Ohio, and Missouri. So I've had calls so far with Missouri, Ohio, Texas, and I'm speaking with Maryland tomorrow, I believe. And what they have sent me are manuals, SOPs basically. I think Ohio is the one who had the 300-page manual that includes a lot of data shared with them by NCSBN on the number of graduates from these schools in the time frames that they were being investigated. They also have a questionnaire that they sent out to applicants with suspicious transcripts, and these are, by suspicious I mean transcripts from schools that have already been indicted, such as Ideal, Professional Institute, MedLife, Carleen, and then Texas actually has the questionnaire sent out to these applicants, but then their questionnaire is reviewed at 3 levels. The first level being an education
Consultant.
Yes, an education evaluator who is a consultant to the state. And then if it passes that first review, it goes to a second reviewer to double check the first review, and then it goes to the EO. So all 3 have to sign off on the questionnaires that are submitted by the applicants. Ohio also further requires that the questionnaire be notarized before it's submitted. And some other lessons that they offered me was that we should have stricter consequences for not passing the NCLEX after a specified number of attempts. We already have that in place with the remedial course. After 3 consecutive fails on the NCLEX, Texas requires re-education for applicants who do not pass the exam within 4 years following their graduation date. So that's in addition to,
What is the definition of re-education?
they have to go through another nursing program.
The whole program, not just
A whole program.
Wow.
Could be
After
2
how
years
many-
associate, could be a 4-year bachelor program.
After how many failures?
After
4 years
Yeah.
of not passing.
they can take as many.
You could take them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can take the test as many times as they want, but they have to pass it in those 4 years following graduating. And Also, now boards are on to schools that are accredited, valid, active, but they're accepting students with Nightingale transcripts who are on
This is your concern all the time.
affidavits as well as other suspected institutes. So I shared some examples here. Aspen University, Chamberlain University, Grand Canyon University, University of Phoenix are 4 examples that have been brought to my attention by other boards.
This is your
So the last advice that, the last piece of advice that I have received so far is that we need to make improvements in knowledge management and resource management and to ensure better transfer of knowledge. So as you've all seen, this board has, the fourth
EO in 4 years.
There we go, yep. So the topic of Operation Nightingale has come up in all EO summits since the investigation started in, 2023. So I'm sure that when the EO summit takes place in June, it will be coming up again, and I will be there in person. Yeah, that's right, it was Texas who has the 258-page manual to facilitate internal knowledge transfer. The manual includes a checklist for fraud detection, a summary of educational requirements from their laws and rules, any recurring offenses that they have seen when they have reviewed out-of-state applicants for licenses, and data from Operation Nightingale as the case evolves. NCSBN continues to urge the use of NERCs, especially the speed memos, to help the boards communicate and identify falsified information so the information can be shared amongst other nursing regulatory boards. And this includes disciplinary actions and criminal convictions, as well as these suspicious transcripts.
I have a question.
Yes.
So these states that have implemented SOPs and whatnot to deal with Nightingale, have those been reflected in changes to their legislation or their acts, their rules?
Yes. In fact, one of the states received extra money in their budget after, I think they said it was this year, the 2025 legislative session, to help implement and hire education evaluation consultants. But they also said that that the governor made it very clear that it was only for this year.
Temporary.
But they have said that since they have used these consultants in the questionnaire, they have seen a huge drop in these transcripts going to the state.
No.
Amy, the 4 programs you listed, what was the concerns stated about those 4 programs?
Oh, Aspen, Chamberlain, yeah. These are just a handful of universities that are accepting students with transcripts from Nightingale schools. So I don't know if they're vetting the transcripts or if they're just accepting the transcripts as, as valid degrees and diplomas. I haven't spoken to any of them, but this is just I call this the second tier of programs that we need to be aware of. I have received multiple requests for the Hawaii Board of Nursing to transfer old transcripts from these schools that are closed to a number of these universities.
So you've gotten requests from whom?
From former applicants.
So the applicants who have applied to Hawaii, who have submitted their transcripts as part of their application, are asking the Board of Nursing to forward those transcripts to these schools that they're trying to apply to
Yes.
programs now.
Yes.
We're not doing that, right?
By law, we have to, right?
Because it's a UIPA request.
Yeah.
They're asking for a copy of their
Information.
documents from their application to be sent to another.
They have access to their own transcripts?
They should.
I was gonna ask, why is it they need the transcripts from us?
Because just like with our requirements, the transcripts must come from the schools themselves. And if the schools are
Shut
closed,
down.
yeah, they need to have the most recent official transcripts sent to whoever is requiring that transcript.
Sometimes was sent as part of an application for licensure.
Exactly. So I've received requests from former applicants who have either been licensed through us or have been deferred, or they just let their applications expire. But regardless of where the transcripts came from, and regardless of the validity of the transcript, because of this policy, I need to
Send them back their own documentation.
not necessarily send it to them, but send it to where they ask. Yeah. So like recently, I received one request for Aspen University, and the most recent request I saw to another board of nursing was to Ohio. So I'm less concerned about the transcripts that are going to the other boards. I'm more concerned about the ones that are going to the schools. Yeah.
Is that a rule or is that a law?
I think Courtney is more familiar with this.
I know the UIPA is part of OIP and everything, but I'm not quite sure as to like if it's a statute or if it's a rule.
Can we investigate that?
Yes.
Question, and I don't know if you know the answer.
I'm shocked.
Is it a blanket green light for in response to UIPA requests? Are the licensees, are these all approved licensees?
So any documents that have been submitted to us by them, they can request their documents, any documents that they have submitted to be sent to another.
Okay, so the license, or the applicant?
The applicant has to request for their own documents to be sent.
Okay, it's not the school?
No, the schools cannot request, I mean, they
Right.
can, but it'll be like redacted, but we don't do applications, we'll do only like if they're licensed.
Okay, only if they were approved?
Yeah, so like if a school were to ask for transcripts, if their application was approved, then, that's
Okay.
different. But
Okay.
because an application is not completed, to my knowledge, I don't think
Applicant
that
has to make that
yeah, I don't think,
request.
it's a different once
Right.
they're
It's not a
licensed,
license. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question regarding the schools? Do we know if this, you may not know this, but do we know if this is to transfer credits or to go into a master's level program?
Like, same
Or,
question.
like, do we know the context in which these transcripts are being used at these particular schools?
We don't know, because they're not required, the requesters are not required to tell us what they need their personal documents for.
So, I have brought this up in the past,
Yes, you have.
where we saw virtually an entire transcript that had transfer credits from a Nightingale school
Correct.
to another school, and it was all transferred. It wasn't retaken courses.
Correct.
And the argument was, what, I don't remember the
The
outcome.
school ultimately vets the transfer credits, right? The
That's
school
right.
does its transfer evaluation about whether or
Right.
not the curriculum that it's transferring in meets their curricular
Right.
requirements. So there's that.
My concern is that for the for-profit schools, they might not have policies in place that would,
That's correct.
I think that's probably true for just about any school. Like, I don't know what the transfer evaluation process is at our local schools of nursing, so I have no idea. I thought I saw your hand, Director Rickard?
Yeah, and just to that note, when Argosy shut down.
Yeah.
Our local schools did go through a process and they worked with Argosy to kind of verify curriculum alignment.
Mhm.
Because they wanted to make sure that there was a good outcome for honest, forthright students, right?
Yeah.
But they had to ensure that the education, so there was a matching process. I think it is up to each school. I don't think there's a standard.
I think that's
To
true.
your point. Can I ask just a clarifying question, because I think you're both talking about, there's a bug on the ground. There's a millipede.
it's going towards my back.
It's going towards your bag, lift bags.
It's just-
Sorry about
I
that.
think it's our mini
Bug right below
derailed
you.
by it.
It's a millipede. We are not earth scientists.
My name.
We are nurses and government people.
Someone's gonna rescue us all.
Let me rename my thought. My question, and I haven't been able to proceed much further on this work this fall, but we had earlier talked about the need to review policies around out-of-state education for local people. And I'm not certain from your conversations how common these reviews or requests are for in-state people who are seeking continuing education, or if it's for out-of-state people. Because to me, this is informative, at least for the Center for Nursing, when we look at education capacity and how local people are trying to become a nurse. It's like, what is the environment that our local community is using? What are the resources our local community is using to become a nurse as compared to mainland folks who are trying to get nurses and kind of boys are tangled? So are these local people? I mean, I don't know if that's germane to this.
It is, yeah. Yeah, you actually asked a great question, and it was one that had asked actually it was an unspoken question in my conversations, because these executive directors and executive officers all told me that these suspicious transcripts are not from in-state applications, they're mostly out of state. That's why there was one that, like in the Texas handbook, their 258-page handbook, they noted that the recurrent offenses are from out-of-state applicants.
People licensed in other jurisdictions, like, perfect. Yes?
If I may go back to Darren's questions about NLC, just because it's
Yeah.
germane to this. Darren asked open-ended question
Yes.
about emergency proclamations versus NLC, and I just think it's pertinent to maybe close that, or respond to that here, just as added information. And I agree, the emergency proclamation is the least great of options, because it just welcomes anyone and you have no idea.
Yeah.
But over the past 5 years, we've seen an average of 500 nurses go through the state licensing process despite having the emergency proclamation opportunity. So you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how many nurses came and did not use the licensure option, but we know that that's a huge amount of nurses who used the licensure option regardless of the emergency proclamation, which I think is great. It shows that nurses are highly ethical and won't risk their license when coming into a state. But to that point, when having this conversation, there is then that transcript review that goes through. So the licensing division does get that full application for all people coming into the state, or all 500 folks, and we don't know if there's more.
Right.
But we know minimally, it's a pretty significant number that have committed to the licensure process as part of ensuring their license and their practice environment is up to a standard. That doesn't have to happen in the nurse license compact, so I just want to recognize that that would be an added layer of obscurity, whereas state licensure has it has that layer of verification. That's just for this context.
Yeah, exactly, and that is exactly the reason why some of these states are still not in the compact, for the reasons that you stated.
Can I ask a question? So, with regards to these examples of universities and other types of for-profit universities, there are states like New York that will not recognize the education from these schools. If Hawaii were to do the same, because now they're potentially accepting Nightingale transcripts that are fraudulent, do we have to go through a legislative change, or is it a rule change regarding whether or not we could accept these transcripts from these universities?
I want to defer that question to our DAG.
I think you don't need either HRS or HAR, because I think your language currently says board approved. So if you don't approve certain schools, that's your jurisdiction. You're going to evaluate the content
Okay.
of the transcripts. And that currently exists.
Okay. Because there's states like New York that blanket says, no, we don't accept education transcripts from these schools.
I mean, they may have done that via rule or statute,
Sure.
but
Sure.
right now you have a very broad language, if I recall.
Okay.
I think
So,
that's true.
you know, it may make the EO or licensing branch job easier if there was a statute or rule that just
Sure.
cut off certain schools, but in the meantime, your HAR or HRS gives you that flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Any other testimony on this agenda item? You're such a regulatory nerd, it delights me.
Also add
Yes,
that, yeah, so this is where, this, I just want to circle back to what I discussed at the last meeting about these expiration dates, because these requesters for their transcripts are applicants from the late 90s to early 2000s. And some of them still have active applications because they were, again, grandfathered in. So I'm going to have to ask the DAG, what are some other solutions are there any workarounds or solutions to expire these applications?
From the 1990s, how did they stay active?
By taking the NCLEX over and over.
Once every 2 years.
Oh, they're before the 3 strikes and you're
Yes.
back to school.
So they were grandfathered in twice.
Under 2 provisions, yes.
You would, I don't know. The only thing that I could think of is saying that taking an exam does not count as,
An active attempt to become licensed.
but it
Which is
is,
the argument you made, right?
That's what I said last week, yeah.
but it is.
It's a
So I don't know
law
how that
change.
would, how that would,
It's a law change is what it is. It's like change the definition of what
Right.
is an alive application.
Yeah.
so that's an HRS.
But
Mm-hmm.
going back to our previous agenda item, just, or,
Like how you said Texas had 4 years? You
right, just put a,
just
lifetime. Get a license.
You have 4 years,
To pass.
forget the number of attempts.
I don't care.
Just there's a finite period of time for you to pass.
But does it have to be written into statute? or-
Yeah. But
So-
that's more justifiable or explainable to the legislature than saying, we're gonna say, oh, your attempt to test is not an active activity
Right.
to get a license, because it is. But here you're saying, okay, you know what, we're really concerned about consumer protection. If after 4 years of graduation, you still cannot pass, despite unlimited amounts of time to sit for an exam, you need to go back and get an associate degree or.
Clearly are not competent to practice.
You should not.
Should not be practicing nursing.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, in the meantime, between now and the point at which we may be asked to provide testimony on an active bill related to the NLC, I would really love it if the board would read the language of the Nurse Licensure Compact. That would be amazing if you guys could do that, because there's a lot of details in there. There's uniform license requirements, there's a description of how discipline happens, and I want this board, whatever your opinion is, to be fully informed based on the actual language of the rules of the compact. So it'd be my request that you read that if you have not done so already. I want to wrap up this conversation, so I'm going to entertain 2 more comments, one from Director Reichart, one from Bradley Quo, and then I need to move on from this.
I think they're related to the the open applications when reading 457-7 part G. I think it does say, I just want to point out that it says, or unless determined to be insufficient or otherwise invalid by the board. And then it talks about all the transcripts and the diplomas and everything, so I just wonder if you would like to go back to that.
We'll leverage that provision.
Yeah. And also, since we have the nursing organizations here, if anyone wants to introduce legislation or a bill to control some of these changes.
That's a reasonable request.
Very reasonable.
Can I move on to Bradley? Bradley.
My only request was just to follow up. Can you send us the most current copy of the NLC
Yes,
in the legislature?
correct, sure. I might even add to these binders.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you so much for that discussion. Always, you know what, the legislative session is both my least favorite and most favorite part of being on the Board of Nursing, because it inspires conversations like these. Go team. We're gonna move on to our next agenda item then, which is reports from Hawaii nursing organizations. We're gonna begin with the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. Director Reichart, if you have a report.
Thank you so much. Actually, I will
read these, which are my personal copies. I just want to thank you all for this meaningful conversation. I don't have too much to share because I've shared a lot already. In a personal activity of mine, I've been going back to the historical reports of nursing. They've been wild. They're really fun to read. They actually are. It's like Groundhog's Day. And I make that point about Groundhog's Day because, interestingly, in 1968, in 1962, in 2004, over and over and over again, you'll hear a repeated sentiment, and it's that healthcare is getting expensive, personnel are very expensive, it's hard to recruit nurses. What is the balance of recruiting from the mainland and foreign with the balance of local education programs? People are sick of it, technology is challenging, more, faster, new, better, more, faster, new, better, more. This is not new. I want to emphasize that 1962 was like 60-something, it's almost 70 years ago. Okay, and we have been grappling with these same challenges and then recommending the same strategies since statehood. So I just want to like level that because this is not new, and I think it actually, you know, when I've read these before. This is not also a new activity for me, but when I read them, sometimes I'm like, oh, we're always stuck here, and sometimes I'm like, oh, we're very good at handling things, right? We've never actually failed nursing. We've held the bar. And I just want to maybe land on that thought, is that we have held the bar. The Board of Nursing has been absolutely critical to that. The Center for Nursing, we've been around for 20 years now. We are very fortunate to be partners in this work. The academic programs, our employers, our unions, our professional associations, there's a lot of concerted and committed and collaborative work. And we have not failed. We have just held on. And these are not new challenges. This is the work, right? So I just want to happy end of the year. But we're fine, you know. Yeah. And we've had some shortages. We've had some surpluses. We have managed through it, and we will continue to manage through it. Happy end of the year.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Director Reichart? Thank you very much. All right, let's hear from the Hawaii American Nurses Association.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So last year, December, you guys were all decked out in like Christmas hats and everything. But so good morning. I was happily to be part of the nurse practitioners proclamation and was able to meet Amy. Bradley, I didn't get to meet him personally. I saw him there, but he had to run off to work really fast. So it was a pleasure meeting you, Amy, chatting with you. It was a pleasure for Hawaii ANA to be a part of that, and for listening to the governor state how important nurse practitioners are to the state. So a big, huge thing right now is, of course, nursing is considered not a professional degree, right? So we were just recently on Hawaii News Now with Mahealani Richardson and our president, and Uilani Chow Rule from UH Manoa, a professor there, has spoke on that. We have a petition going with many other nursing associations across the nation. ANA does, and last week we have over 200,000 people who have already signed. This petition is not just for nurses, it's for anyone impacted by nurses. So basically anyone that's ever been cared for, care for a nurse, is a nurse, anybody can sign that. There's also a link that you can share your story to help get the message out to to the Department of Education once they drop that. Once they drop that, there's going to be a period of comment from the public on this, a 30-day period, and this is why we want to get all of this information in. ANA also has a national campaign on Share Your Story. So this is for nurses to share their story, and we want to highlight Hawaii for sure, because we know we have so many wonderful Hawaii nursing stories here. So there's a link on our website, so you can go there, share your story with ANA, and they're going to look through everything and then do a national campaign, like commercials and getting nursing stories out. And they don't even need to be ANA. We would love them to be, but they don't even need to be ANA members. It's just getting nursing out there and, kind of like dispelling the myths of it, because there's just misinformation out there all over the place. Myself, the president-elect and president of Hawaii ANA will be going to a leadership meeting in December, the beginning of December, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then the next thing we have is we're sponsoring the State of Reform Conference that's held here in Hawaii at the Hilton Hawaiian Village on January 14th. And we also have our opening day at the Capitol, January 21st. Our advocacy team is working on a bunch of different items and legislative bills, Amy, to present to our legislators. So we're going to have like fact sheets and different things from our point of view and why they should vote for different things. So they're getting together items to hand over to the legislators for that. And we also are doing the HPEC, the Health Professionals Education Conference on January 31st. We're also sponsoring that. And I just want to thank you guys so much for allowing me to be here. And it was great to actually meet some of you in person. And so thank you for all you do. Any questions?
Any questions for Elizabeth? Thank you so much. We appreciate your report.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks. And lastly, we'll hear from Happen.
There we go. Good morning again, everybody. I'm Dr. Jeremy Creekworm, the now immediate past president of Happen. And so I want to start off by just congratulating the people from the results of our elections. So our president-elect now, Dr. Jamie Bowling, congratulations. Secretary Melissa Sotelo and our treasurer, Natalie Kitamura. Dr. Patricia Burrell will be moving into the president's position as I move over into the immediate past president. So I probably will still be seeing you guys off and on, but I will work to also transition them over to this slot as well. We continue to do our collaborative work. Alan Novak on our board works closely with the Hawaii Provider Shortage Task Force. And there's a lot of moving things going on there now to make some changes in healthcare across the state. I don't want to go too much into what they're specifically doing. Other than that, we are in the process right now, I think, of compiling our strategic plan for the legislative session coming up, and we'll chime in about that as needed as well. So thank you all again for not only the testimony earlier, but the ability to share what Happen's been doing. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Any questions for Jeremy? Thank you so much. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you.
All right. We are on now to agenda item number 7. Would be good if I put my glasses on, which is applications for licensure. So I do see that we have a few folks who are here who have applications on the agenda. So the way that we'll do this in general is that we're going to go into executive session so that we can deal with the confidential information in your applications. In the event that we have questions or would like to discuss with you your application, we will invite you into the executive session. So hold tight, and we will let you in as we are addressing your application in the executive session. So for those of you otherwise, you can sit out here until we're done, and we will resume our meeting in the open session when we're done discussing the confidential information. So to that end, I would like to make a motion to move into executive session in accordance with HRS 92-4 and 92-5 to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional licensure and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Thank you for the second, Bradley. Does any board member wish to vote no, abstain, or recuse themselves from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We are in executive session. We are back from executive session. Thank you for those of you who stuck around. All right, we're gonna resume our agenda here on item number 7. So the first thing I'd like to do is make a motion to approve the ratification lists for LPN, RN, APRN, and temporary permits that was appended to the agenda. Is there a second?
This is Brad.
This is Sherry, I second.
I'll take Sherry's second. Thank you very much. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, to individual applications for licensure. The first thing I'd like to do is make a motion to approve the application for RN by endorsement for Tasha Katrine Connell. Is there a second?
I'll second Terrence.
Thank you, Terrence. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion?
Darren, I abstain.
All right, Darren is abstaining. Any other noes or abstentions? That leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yays. Then yeses have it. The motion carries. Okay, on the matter of the application of Selena Jane Pilar.
She's on, by the way.
This is, the motion I am making is that we will provide information to the applicant pertaining to her eligibility for nurse licensure. And is that all? Do I need to say more than that?
EO will,
The EO will provide additional information. So we are not making a decision on this application today, but we're providing additional information to the applicant to make a good decision about their eligibility for licensure.
This is Darren, I'll second.
Second that motion. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. And the last one is a motion to uphold the deferral on the application for RN for NOLA Mentor. Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Thank you, Bradley, for your second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, that concludes applications and agenda item number 7. We will move on to agenda item number 8, which is our next meeting. We will not be having a meeting in January, so you guys can not be here on the first Thursday in January. We will resume board meetings on February 5th, 2026. And as a reminder, there is an education committee meeting to follow this one shortly. So stick around if you're interested in that. And outside of that, we conclude. I wish everybody a happy holidays, however you celebrate. Mahalo nui, we are adjourned. Bye.
Thank you.